You could say it all started with a hoodie. Security footage would later show her stepping into the Crescent Trust Bank branch just before closing time. Hood pulled low, hands tucked in her pockets, rain still dripping off her sleeves. To the staff behind the counter, she looked like a college student or maybe a barista on her day off. No one stood up. No one smiled. No one knew. She walked up quietly, slipped a withdrawal form across the marble counter, and waited. It should have been a routine transaction. Instead, within 20 minutes, the bank manager would be sweating bullets, security would be standing by, and every customer in that lobby would be dead silent. Why? Because that woman in the hoodie wasn't just any customer. She was the founder of the bank, and she was about to remind everyone exactly who she was. The rain had just turned into a drizzle when Jordan Taylor stepped through the glass doors of Crescent Trust's Fremont branch. It was one of those classic Seattle afternoons. Grey skies, wet sidewalks, and the faint scent of roasted coffee drifting in from the cafe next door. She shook the rain off her beanie, slid her hoodie down, and glanced around. The lobby was sleek, marble countertops, curated succulents, a soft jazz playlist humming through the ceiling speakers. It looked exactly like the kind of bank she'd dreamed of building. Because, well, she had. Jordan wasn't here to check up on anything. No board meeting, no executive calls. She wasn't wearing heels or a blazer. Just jeans, old sneakers, and a navy hoodie that had seen better days. Today, she was here as one thing only: a customer. She made her way toward the teller line, casual but observant. There were 2 stations open. One teller was helping an elderly man with some printed statements. The other, a woman in her late 20s, sat behind her screen, typing. She didn't look up. Jordan cleared her throat gently. "Hi there," she said. "Just need to make a quick withdrawal." The woman glanced up for a split second, eyes scanning Jordan's face, then her outfit. "You'll need to fill this out," she said curtly, sliding a clipboard forward without making eye contact. No smile, no "how can I help you," just protocol. Jordan took the clipboard, noting the nameplate beside the monitor, Ashley Brooks. The form was simple: name, account number, withdrawal amount. Jordan wrote it out neatly. $5,000 from her personal account. She'd done it 100 times before. As she handed it back, Ashley's fingers hesitated on the form. Her eyes darted from the paperwork to the name, then to Jordan. And just like that, something changed. It wasn't the usual "thank you, we'll get that started for you." Instead, Ashley's voice dropped slightly. "Can you wait here for a moment?" She picked up Jordan's ID and disappeared behind the frosted glass door to the back office. Jordan exhaled slowly, already sensing what was coming. Behind that frosted glass door, silence lingered longer than it should have. Jordan stood patiently at the counter, her hands resting on the cool marble edge. The lobby, once filled with soft ambient noise, felt oddly quieter now. A couple near the entrance glanced over at her, then looked away. The jazz music still played, but it suddenly felt like background noise in a tense scene from a film. After almost 2 full minutes, the door swung open. Ashley emerged, followed closely by a tall man in a stiff grey suit. His expression was carefully neutral, the kind that tried hard to look professional, but didn't quite hide the judgment just beneath the surface. "Good afternoon," he said, scanning her from head to toe before looking at the form. "You're requesting a withdrawal of $5,000. Jordan gave a small nod. "That's right, from my personal account." He extended his hand. "May I see your ID again?" "She already has it," Jordan replied, gesturing toward Ashley. But he didn't even glance at her. Instead, he turned to Ashley. "Let me see it." Ashley handed it over, and he held it up to the light, tilting, flipping, examining like it was some counterfeit from a crime show. Jordan felt the shift. This wasn't about routine anymore. It was about suspicion, doubt, and assumption. "I'm Martin." Martin," he finally said. "I manage this branch." His tone made it sound like he was asserting territory. Jordan remained calm. "Nice to meet you." Martin looked at her ID again. "What do you do for work, Ms. Taylor?" Her jaw tightened slightly. "I work in finance." Martin raised an eyebrow. Is this account for business or personal use? She tapped the form gently. It's a personal account. That's what the form says. He said nothing, just stared at her, then down at the paper again, like something wasn't adding up. Jordan felt her chest tighten, but her face stayed still. He didn't see her yet, not really. To him, she was just a woman in a hoodie asking for a large withdrawal. But to Jordan, this wasn't the first time she'd been looked at like she didn't belong. It was just the first time it happened inside something she built. Ashley Brooks returned a few minutes later, her expression unreadable, her posture just a little more rigid than before. She didn't meet Jordan's eyes. She didn't smile. She simply set the clipboard down with a soft thud. ID still clipped to the top. There's a delay in the system, she said flatly. It may take a few minutes. Jordan nodded slowly. All right. Ashley turned away without another word, began typing furiously at her screen like the conversation had already ended. Jordan stood there, quietly watching her work. Or rather, pretend to. She wasn't moving with purpose. She wasn't looking at anything specific, just flicking between tabs, glancing occasionally toward the back office, then back to her screen. Her fingers hovered more than they typed. There was something performative about it all, like stalling without saying she was stalling. Can I ask what's causing the delay? Jordan offered, keeping her voice light. Ashley didn't look up. Just standard checks. Jordan raised an eyebrow. Standard for every customer. Ashley hesitated for a breath. For certain transactions, yes. Another non-answer. The air between them grew denser. The sound of tapping keys filled the space where simple courtesy should have lived. No eye contact, no transparency, just vague words and forced professionalism. Jordan felt that familiar sting in her chest, one she'd carried too many times before. The kind that whispered, "They've already decided who you are." She looked around. The other teller was chatting warmly with a customer, offering them candy from a small dish, laughing at something they said. In contrast, Jordan felt like she'd wandered into the wrong movie. Same lobby, same logo on the wall, but she wasn't being treated like she belonged there. Ashley finally glanced up again, her eyes flicking briefly over Jordan's outfit. Her face then away. We'll need a supervisor to approve this. Her tone was sharper now, more guarded, as if Jordan had asked for something outrageous. But she hadn't. Just $5,000 of her own money. Jordan nodded slowly. Then I'll wait. But inside, she already knew. This wasn't about the money. It was about something else. When the office door opened again, the man who stepped out looked like he had walked straight from a policy manual. Tailored grey suit, shiny loafers, clipboard in hand. His name tag read Martin Greaves, branch manager. He walked with practiced authority, chin slightly raised, like every inch of this marble-floored lobby reported directly to him. Ashley gave him a subtle nod like passing off a silent warning. This one's different. Martin approached the counter with a polite but distant smile. Ms. Taylor, I understand you're requesting a withdrawal of $5,000. Jordan gave a small nod. That's right, from my personal account. Do you have identification? She's already provided it, Ashley interjected, pushing the ID toward him. Martin picked it up and examined it like it might combust in his hands. He flipped it once, held it up to the light, studied the signature like he was hoping it would misspell her name. Jordan watched him silently. Her expression didn't shift, but inside her patience was beginning to fray. Martin looked up. And what do you do for a living, Ms. Taylor? Jordan tilted her head slightly. I work in finance. He gave a small nod, as if that wasn't quite good enough. And is this a business account or a personal one? She gestured gently to the form. It's a personal account. You can see that right there. Of course, he said, not really listening. His eyes were on her hoodie, the water stains on her sleeves, the frizz in her curls from the rain. Jordan exhaled slowly. Is there a reason I'm being asked these questions? It's standard for certain amounts, Martin replied smoothly. But $5,000 isn't an unusual amount for a withdrawal, Jordan said, especially from a personal account with valid ID. Martin smiled again, tighter this time. It's just part of the verification process. That phrase, Jordan had heard it before. It always meant, we don't trust what we see. So we're inventing new hoops for you to jump through. Behind her calm exterior, the storm began to gather. She had built institutions that loaned millions, overseen audits larger than this entire branch's operating budget. And here she was, being asked if she really belonged. "I see," Jordan said quietly. But what she meant was, "I see exactly what this is." Martin hadn't moved from his place behind the counter. He stood just close enough to assert authority, but far enough to pretend it wasn't personal. He placed the form down slowly, like it needed a second opinion. "Before we proceed, I'm going to need you to verify some additional details." Jordan's eyes narrowed. "Like what?" Martin flipped open a notepad, as if he were conducting a formal investigation. "Can you confirm the amount of your last deposit?" Jordan blinked. "Excuse me?" "Your last deposit, exact amount, into this account." Her lips parted, but no words came out at first. "That wasn't policy. That wasn't even close." "No, I don't have that number memorized," she said finally, "but you have my account number, and I've already given valid identification." Martin nodded slowly, pen tapping the edge of the clipboard. "We take security very seriously, Ms. Taylor. These questions are standard." There it was again. That phrase. "Standard for whom?" she asked softly. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned and gestured toward the side wall, where a security guard stood quietly, arms crossed, watching. The man straightened, took a step closer. Jordan's stomach dropped, not in fear, but recognition. This was the move, the pressure play, the "we're not saying you're dangerous, but here's a guard" move. She exhaled through her nose, keeping her voice level. "Are you bringing security over because I asked why I'm being treated differently?" Martin shrugged. "It is not about treatment, it's about protocol." "No," she said, voice sharp now. "Protocol is when you follow a process that applies to everyone. What you're doing is targeting me." Ashley had gone quiet again. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, frozen. Jordan stepped forward just slightly, enough for her words to land clearly. "Let me be crystal clear. I am not raising my voice. I am not being aggressive. I'm standing here, calmly, asking for a withdrawal from my own account. You've checked my ID, you've stalled, you've brought over security, and now you want me to jump through hoops you didn't require of the last 3 people who walked in." Martin's lips pressed into a line, but he didn't speak. The silence in the lobby was growing thicker. Customers were starting to notice. A couple near the ATM had stopped mid-transaction. One man stood frozen, holding a pen above a deposit slip. Jordan saw it all, and she made a decision. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and hit record. The screen lit up, red dot blinking. "This is what it looks like," she said calmly into the camera, "when a bank refuses to let a customer access their own money for no legitimate reason." Martin's composure cracked for just a second. Jordan didn't blink. She'd seen enough. The red recording light blinked steadily, casting a quiet pulse on Jordan's screen. Martin took half a step back. "Ms. Taylor, there's no need to escalate." "I'm not escalating," Jordan cut in, her tone measured. "I'm documenting." She shifted her phone slightly, capturing the room. The counter, Ashley behind it, the silent security guard, the other customers now pretending not to watch, but clearly listening. "This is Crescent Trust Bank, Fremont branch," she said calmly into the mic, "and I'm being denied access to my personal account despite presenting valid ID and a completed form for a routine withdrawal." Martin tried to mask the flicker of panic behind his eyes. "We're just taking precautions." "No," Jordan replied, "you're profiling. Let's call it what it is." She turned the camera directly toward the security guard. "And you were called over because what?" Martin here felt uncomfortable with a hoodie and natural curls. The guard opened his mouth, closed it. Visibly uncomfortable, he shifted his weight from foot to foot. Ashley was frozen, lips parted like she wanted to speak but couldn't remember how. Jordan let the silence hang. Then she did what none of them expected. She reached down, picked up her ID from the counter, and held it up to the camera. "You see this?" she said. She flipped the card toward the camera slowly, letting the name and photo settle into everyone's eyes. "Jordan A. Taylor, founder and chief executive officer of Crescent Trust. Gasps, quiet, stifled, involuntary, rippled across the room. Ashley's face went white. Her eyes dropped instantly, hands trembling above the keyboard. Martin froze completely. No more clipboard flipping, no more questions. Jordan didn't gloat. She didn't raise her voice. She just stepped forward, lowered the phone slightly, and looked Martin in the eye. "I opened this branch 3 years ago. I approved the floor plan, signed off on your hiring package, and I even picked the damn lobby furniture." Her voice was calm, controlled, devastating. "And yet here I am, being treated like I don't belong in a building I created." Martin's lips parted, but the apology never made it out. Jordan tilted her head slightly. "Still need that deposit amount? Or are we ready to stop pretending this was ever about policy?" Silence. The kind that reveals everything. Even the music had stopped. No more smooth jazz to cover the tension. Just the sound of realization. Jordan didn't flinch. She didn't have to, because the truth was loud enough. The next morning, Jordan was already seated at the head of the executive conference table on the 32nd floor of Crescent Trust's headquarters. The sun hadn't even broken through the Seattle clouds, but every branch manager had been summoned. No excuses, no reschedules. Martin Greaves's name was already off the employee directory. She didn't need a dramatic firing. She needed accountability. "This wasn't an isolated incident," Jordan began, eyes scanning the room. "It just happened to be caught on camera." No one spoke. A few glanced down at their notes. Others stared straight ahead, expressions tight. "We built this bank on the promise of accessibility, respect, and equity," she continued. "Yesterday, that promise was broken, and it won't happen again." The leadership team didn't just sit in for a lecture. They left that room with marching orders, mandatory bias training, anonymous incident reporting channels, internal audits of customer service behavior, real metrics, real consequences. The Fremont branch underwent a full procedural review. Every teller, every floor manager, every line of protocol was picked apart and rebuilt. Not for compliance, but for culture. And Jordan didn't stop there. She released a company-wide internal video. No branding, no polish, just her standing in front of a plain wall, telling the story exactly as it happened. Not to shame, but to shine light. "Power doesn't always look like a suit or a briefcase," she said in the video. "Sometimes it looks like a hoodie, sneakers, and tired eyes. If you need the title to show someone respect, you've already failed them." It spread faster than expected. Employees started having real conversations. Customers began noticing subtle differences. Warmer greetings, more eye contact, a little more patience at the window. And Jordan? She went back to visiting branches, unannounced, hoodie still on, not to test them, but to remind them. That real change doesn't come from slogans. It comes from the uncomfortable moments we choose to confront, and the decisions we make afterward. Jordan never returned to that branch wearing a suit, not because she had something to prove, but because she didn't. She knew the quiet power of showing up exactly as she was. The truth is, people don't always see what's in front of them. They see what they expect to see. And when those expectations are shaped by bias, even the builder of a bank can be mistaken for someone who doesn't belong inside it. But here's the thing. Belonging isn't something you dress up for. It's something you claim. And that day, Jordan claimed it not just for herself, but for every person who's ever been told, in small ways or large, you don't fit here. So the next time someone sizes you up before hearing your story, look them in the eye, stand your ground, and if you have to, record the truth. Because sometimes change doesn't come from the top down. It walks in quietly, wearing a hoodie, and it rewrites the rules. If you've ever been underestimated because of how you looked, how you spoke, or how you showed up, tell us. We're listening.